Hello, everyone, and welcome. Have you ever stopped to think about where all the things we use every day actually come from? Like the clothes we wear, or even the sugar we put in our tea? Well, today, we're going to explore the amazing story of how so many of these things begin their life on a farm. Let's start with something really simple. Something you're probably wearing right now. A t-shirt. It didn't just appear in the shop, did it? No, its journey started a long time ago, maybe as a tiny little plant in a farmer's field. Today, we're going to follow that exact journey.
So here's our plan. First, we'll see how farms and your clothes are connected. Then we'll dive into the story of Indian cotton. We'll also look at weaving, which is a big tradition in our country. After that, we'll learn about jute, India's golden fiber. And to finish up, we'll see how all of this connects right back to you. Ready? Let's begin.
Okay, let's get into our first section. We're going to find out about the special link between the farms that grow our crops and the factories that make so many of the things we use. The big idea for today is agro-based industries. Now, I know that sounds a little complicated, but it's really quite simple. Just think of it this way. These are industries that take raw materials from agriculture, like cotton from a plant or sugarcane from a field, and turn them into finished products. So it's basically where farming meets factories. And you'd be surprised how many things are made this way. The cotton for our clothes, the jute used for making strong bags, the sugar for our sweets, even the oil that's used to cook our food. They all start on a farm and are then processed in these agro-based industries. Now, let's take a closer look at one of the most important agro-based industries in India, the cotton textile industry. We're going to follow the amazing story of a single cotton fiber, from when it was just a seed all the way to becoming a piece of clothing.
The textile industry is a huge deal for India's economy. It makes a big contribution to our country's industrial production. It creates jobs for millions of people, from the farmers in the fields to the workers in the factories. It even earns foreign money for our country when we sell our textiles abroad. And what's really special is that this industry is self-reliant. That means we do everything right here in India, from growing the raw material to making the final product.
So, how exactly does that fluffy cotton ball turn into a t-shirt? Let's look at the steps. First, the farmers grow the cotton. That's fiber production. Once it's picked, it goes for ginning. That's a process to separate the soft fiber from the seeds. Next is spinning, where all these fibers are twisted together to make a long thread, which we call yarn. Then comes weaving, where the yarn is used to create a big sheet of cloth, or fabric. And finally, in garment manufacturing, that fabric is cut and stitched into the clothes we buy and wear. This picture here gives you a really nice summary of that whole journey. You can see how it goes from the raw cotton fiber to yarn, then to fabric, and finally to a finished garment. This whole process is called a value chain, because value is added at each and every step. Now, where does all of this happen in India? Well, if you look at this map, you'll see that in the early days, the cotton textile industry was mostly concentrated or located in the cotton-growing areas of Maharashtra and Gujarat. But why there? What was so special about those places? Well, it was the perfect mix of things. First, the raw cotton was available right there. They also had big markets to sell the finished goods. There was good transport, including ports to ship things out. And of course, there were plenty of people available for work. And here's an interesting fact. The moist climate near the coast is actually very good for spinning the cotton thread because it prevents it from breaking easily. So you see, everything was just right. Now, while spinning was done in just a few places, weaving is a different story. The art of weaving is spread all across our country. It's a very important national tradition. Let's find out a little more about it. So in India, weaving is done in two major ways. On one hand, you have the traditional methods, handloom and khadi. This is where talented weavers create fabric by hand, usually in their own homes. This is so important because it keeps our traditional skills alive. On the other hand, you have power looms and mills. Here, the weaving is done by machines in workshops or big factories, which helps to produce fabric on a much larger scale. And this brings us to a very important person in our history, Mahatma Gandhi. Have you ever thought about why he placed so much importance on spinning yarn and weaving khadi cloth? Let's take a moment to think about that. Well, this quote helps us understand. For Mahatma Gandhi, khadi was more than just a piece of cloth. It was a symbol of self-reliance. He believed that if people spun their own yarn and wove their own cloth, it would provide jobs to weavers right in their villages and make the villages strong and independent. All right, so we've talked a lot about soft cotton. Now let's switch gears and talk about another very important fiber grown in India, a much stronger one. And that is jute. Jute is famously known as the golden fiber, partly because of its beautiful golden color, but also because of its value. And you should know that India is the largest producer of raw jute in the entire world. We use it to make things like strong gunny bags, ropes, and even carpets. And just like cotton, the jute industry is also concentrated in one main area. Look at the map here. You can see that almost all the jute mills are located along a narrow strip of land next to the Hooghly River in West Bengal. And again, there are very specific reasons for this. The jute-growing areas are right there. The river provides cheap transportation. The area has good roads and railways. There's lots of water available, which is needed to process the raw jute, and there's also cheap labor available from nearby states. And of course, the Kolkata port is close by for exporting the finished goods. But the jute industry faced a very big problem. After the partition of India in 1947, something happened. Most of the jute mills were on our side, in India. But about 3/4 of the best jute-growing areas went to what is now Bangladesh. This created a huge challenge for the Indian mills because suddenly they didn't have enough raw material. Wow, we have covered so much today, from the journey of cotton to the story of jute. Now, for our last part, let's try to connect all these ideas to the world right around you. So the next time you pull on a t-shirt or see a jute bag, I hope you'll remember the incredible journey it has taken, all the way from a farmer's field. And here's a little something for you to think about. Look around your own area, your own town or city. Can you see any agro-based industries? Maybe a small flour mill, a sugar factory, or even a dairy. Think about what they make and how they connect the farms to your own community. Thank you so much for listening today.